Over the Hedge is a 2006 DreamWorks animated movie that through its humor, brilliance, and nostalgia has turned into a cult classic. I'm sure most of you watching this have seen this movie at one point or another in your childhood. So this is the Over the Hedge Iceberg, and it runs deeper than you can possibly imagine, with theories and knowledge ranging from the cancelled sequel to the Over the Hedge Marxist theory. So let's dig right in. Appearance of THX. THX is a certification program for audio and visual quality that stands for Tomlinson's Holman's Experiment. As a certification, THX ensures that entertainment experiences from cinemas to home theater systems meet high fidelity standards to reproduce content as the creators intended. The logo pops up when the porcupine children, Bucky, Spike, Quilo, bet you didn't know that was their names, accidentally jump on the remote. It's a simple reference to the company that worked on the film within the film, Inception style. End credits scene. That's right. Before Marvel movies and the age of end credits scene, this movie had a simple, fun, and short end credits scene of RJ and company at a vending machine trying to get food. Here it is.
Yes! Here we go.
Kind of anticlimactic.
Shoot!
Rockin' the Suburbs original version. The soundtrack of Over the Hedge was done by Ben Folds. He wrote a song for the movie titled Rockin' the Suburbs, which is a good song for the movie, but in the original version, he says some pretty interesting things such as, "All alone in my white boy pain, shake your booty, what a band complains." While obviously being satirical, it's not something that could go into a PG movie. Alternative South American dubbing. There is one dub of Over the Hedge in Spanish for South America. The different dialects and accents of South America do not typically have separate dubs for movies like Over the Hedge, despite its international success. Though, the regional differences in Spanish are often a source of debate and discussion among fans, such as despite the different dialects and languages, the main title being
Vecinos invasores.
Yeah, like that, which translates to invading neighbors. Hemi's Boomerang Adventure. There's a short film released in 2006 based on the movie where RJ and the Porcupine Children play several pranks on Hemi, which has all the original voices of the characters in it that you can watch on YouTube. It's a 76 on Rotten Tomatoes and it's quite funny. It matches the same charm of the original movie. Video game of the movie for PS2 and GameCube. Over the Hedge, the video game, released in 2006. It was released by Edge of Reality and Activision and released for PS2, GameCube, Xbox, PC, GBA, and Nintendo DS. It takes place 1 year after the events of the movie and focuses around the animals still stealing food from the neighborhood, while Dwayne, the exterminator, brainwashes other animals to help catch RJ, Vern, and company. So the animals have to dodge Dwayne's traps, other animals, and steal food all at the same time. They even free Vincent and use his help at one point in the game. The game ends up leading to Dwayne kidnapping Heather, the possum, and taking her to Vern Tech headquarters, wherever that could be, and the gang going there to save her, which leads to the final battle with the animals destroying the controller for all the animals, freeing all the brainwashed animals from Dwayne's control. The finale of the game is the animals all prepare to hibernate for the winter with all the food they've claimed that year. Minigames of the DVD. There are multiple minigames within the DVD version of Over the Hedge, such as Over the Hedge, Wacky Moments in Human History, Backyard Obstacle Course, Acorn Toss, and many others, including a little golf cart minigame. It makes sense, most DreamWorks movies that come out around this time on DVD also had minigames on it, such as Madagascar, Shrek, and others. It's just something popular that was on a lot of DVDs. Reddit and movie memes. There are a few popular memes from the movies that originated from Reddit and grew popular, such as the shocked Vern face and the
What is this place?
It is based on a comic. Over the Hedge is based on a comic. It's not a joke. The comics was written by Michael Fry and drawn by T. Lewis. It tells the story of a raccoon, a turtle, and a squirrel, and they're friends. who come to terms with their woodlands being taken over by suburbia, trying to survive the increasing flow of humanity and technology while becoming enticed by it at the same time. And it came out on June 12th, 1995, 11 years before the movie came out. There's a few big differences between the comic and the movie, such as there's a character named Clara in the comics, a human infant who can speak to and understand the animals with intelligence. So, while the comic and movie are quite different, the idea for the movie did come from a comic. So, thank you Michael Fry and T. Lewis for Over the Hedge. Over the Hedge 2, canceled sequel. There was a few plans and ideas for a sequel to the movie right before the original movie released. However, due to its box office performance of $339 million, in May 2007, the DreamWorks Animation CEO, Jeff Katzenberg, said there would not be a sequel, but he claimed that it was close, and almost. In October 2010, an article explaining the possibility of a sequel was posted on the official Over the Hedge blog, saying that if a sequel failed to perform as well financially as the first film, DreamWorks would lose money on the project. Still, reprise. The song Still by Ben Folds plays in the Over the Hedge movie after Vern and RJ fight over the food and lose it all. It's a 2-minute and 38-second short and bittersweet song. However, the genius and beautiful Ben Folds thought that was too short and made a 6-minute version of the song. It's just as absolutely beautiful as the original and even more. I suggest you go listen to it immediately. RJ x Heather. The biggest surprise of this iceberg is how alive the fandom is for this movie. Even after 19 years, of course, shipping, which is when fans put together two characters in a romantic situation, is popular in every fandom. Yet, I have found quite a large chunk of people shipping Heather, mostly on DeviantArt, the teenage possum, with the grown adult RJ, which is gross and insane it's so popular, deep into the fandom. r/Over the Hedge. There is a subreddit for the movie Over the Hedge. There's a subreddit for almost everything in the world, so there's no surprise here, although the subreddit isn't very active and has less than 1,000 members. Ozzy and RJ are the most shipped. Ozzy, the father of Heather, is actually even more shipped with RJ than his daughter Heather is. By looking at this disgusting art on DeviantArt, we can find quite a lot of this, though I really don't recommend looking yourself. Jim Carrey, original voice for RJ. After Bill Murray declined the role of RJ, Jim Carrey was offered the role and recorded several lines for the character. However, in October 2004, he had to drop out and the role went to Bruce Willis. Though, interestingly enough, if you listen carefully, his line, "Man, I told you not to change," stayed in the film. Fake product placement. There is a lot of food in this movie, and a lot of it is branded. However, they are all fake brands, such as Spuddies, Oh No's, Crabble, and many others. It seemed like a prime deal to get a brand to pay money and have them inserted into the movie. But there's not a single actual brand of food in this movie. They're all fake. Henry and Boris. Henry is a villain in the Over the Hedge video game that we talked about earlier. Henry is a taxidermist, and he also speaks with a French accent, interestingly enough. He's hired by Gladys, the evil woman, to capture and stuff the animals. However, she discovers Henry's relation to his brother, Dwayne, the exterminator. And eventually, Henry's antics come to an end when Hammy tricks him and Gladys into walking through security cameras that catch Gladys' rantings. He's then arrested and sent to prison. Boris is a beaver, however, and a villain in another video game of Over the Hedge called Hammy Goes Nuts. And RJ finds Boris locked in a cage inside a human's basement. After he's freed, he befriends Hammy and tells him where to find food and adventure. In actuality, Boris does this to manipulate Hammy into raiding the humans' houses in order to get the materials he needs to build a dam. However, the dam is so big it floods the forest and the neighborhood. The animals must then navigate through this massive dam and confront Boris. After his defeat, he leaves an apology letter and the satellite dish they destroyed at its beginning, now repaired. Vern is the least liked character. In the ever-expanding Over the Hedge fandom, Vern is the least liked among fans due to the fact he acts antagonistic towards RJ and doesn't have a very likable personality. Though if you ask people on Reddit, they say it's 'cause he's a wimp. References to alcohol in a storyboard. There is one deleted storyboard that shows a scene where Vern would drink an alcoholic beverage at RJ's request, but was soon discarded by the director for the obvious reasons that the movie would receive a higher age rating, and this is a PG kids movie. Gladys' zoophobia. Gladys Sharp, the evil neighbor that wants the animals dead, is one of the main villains of the movie and is straight up evil. She's just a terrible goddamn person. People often wonder where the strong hatred for the animals come from, and many theories of the movie suggest that she's just zoophobic, meaning she hates all animals for the sake of them being animals. But it's more likely that she just wants to keep the perfect neighborhood image of the area.
Charter which you signed says the grass is supposed to be 2 inches, and according to my measuring stick, yours is 2.5.
Originally serious. While Over the Hedge is a comedy and seems to be nothing more than that, there was original plans to make the movie with a more serious approach, with a critical take on the encroachment of suburban sprawl into nature, the emptiness of suburban life, and some people even suggesting that the film uses biblical allusions to compare the destruction of the forest to the fall of Eden, and portrays suburbia as a violent and wasteful stolen land with the goal of provoking reflection on consumerism, displacement, and environmental damage. I think the movie turned out better as a comedy.
Oh, thank you.
Made by Fox. In 2000, the rights for the comic strip Over the Hedge were acquired by Fox Animations. The idea of the film was conceived when animator Don Bluth and Gary Goldman showed the comic strip to its head, Chris Meledandri, who was impressed by its humor and acquired rights to the strip. He asked the screenwriting duo of Jeffrey Price and Peter S. Seaman to write the screenplay for the film. However, at the time, Fox Animation had just released the movie Titan A.E., which you may have heard of, which ended up doing terrible at the box office, so maybe you have not heard of it, leading to the studios losing $100 million, and Fox Animation closing altogether and selling the rights to DreamWorks. Chuck E. Cheese tokens. Chuck E. Cheese made tokens based on the Over the Hedge movie as a promotion and had them used in stores from 2005 to 2006. You can even buy some off eBay nowadays for relatively cheap. Original release in 2005. The movie released in May 2006 after some special screenings in April for the Indianapolis International Film Festival and LA premiere, though the film originally had a plan of releasing in November 2005, but it was announced in December 2004 that the film was being pushed back because the film was originally going to be distributed by DreamWorks Animation's former parent company, DreamWorks SKG. In late 2005, distributor Paramount Pictures' parent company, Viacom, purchased DreamWorks Pictures, changing the release date of the movie. RJ x Vern. People ship RJ and Vern together. I don't like it. I don't think anyone likes it. I don't know why it happens. It's weird. And it happens. I don't like it. Nobody likes it. Why do we do this? Why? Let's just move on. Overcrowded forest. The forest where the animals live in the movie is pretty small because of the demolishing and building of the neighborhood that happened over the winter. Though there's over 10 animals in this little patch of forest, the area with all the houses and the forest is described as 54 acres, which with all the houses leaves the animals probably less than an acre for their tomfoolery, making it an overcrowded forest. Fan fiction. There's a strange amount of fan fiction about Over the Hedge out there. As we've talked about before, a lot of it is shipping, but a lot of it is also sequel ideas and prequel ideas as well. And right now on fanfiction.com, there is 235 Over the Hedge fanfictions and 63 on AO3, which means there is at least 298 Over the Hedge fanfictions, which is a concerning amount for a 2006 animated animal movie. Stanley. According to concept art of the film Tiger, the cat that Stella falls in love with was originally going to be named Stanley and would be an orange Persian cat, referencing the famous Stanley and Stella from hit book, play, and movie A Streetcar Named Desire that features Marlon Brando screaming, "Hey Stella!" Seen in both the movies. But for unknown reasons, the name was changed to Tiger and he became a white Persian cat. Although the name change to Tiger was most likely due to copyright issues with A Streetcar Named Desire. I Should Not Exist, Oyster Catcher 7. I Should Not Exist is a user on DeviantArt who also goes by Oyster Catcher 7 around the web, who is an artist who draws, that's right, you guessed it, draws furry, which has drawn several images of the characters from, disgustingly enough, Over the Hedge, Vincent's ending. In the movie, Vincent has lost all of his fur and is very burnt from the depleter turbo, and is taken away by animal control and is allegedly sent to the Rocky Mountains, according to a comment from one of the animal control men if you listen closely.
Here we go. Off to the Rockies for you, Smokey.
Though in the Over the Hedge video game, which kind of acts as a sequel to the movie, the animals free him from Dwayne's mind control, and Vern convinces him to join them to take revenge against Dwayne. He is then seen at the end of the video game enjoying the victory party with everyone else, making him technically a member of the Hedge family. He's a true hedger. Marxist theory. A theory on Reddit suggests that Over the Hedge is a movie that supports the Marxist idea. And I can't put it into better words than what the guy said, so I'll just read it word for word. So, the inciting incident of Over the Hedge is when RJ the raccoon steals from Vincent the bear, who has hoarded a significant amount of food in his cave. Already the audience is told to be sympathetic to RJ, who is merely trying to feed himself, while scorning Vincent, who represents the rich. However, RJ's greed gets the better of him, and the food is destroyed in the struggle between the animals. RJ, under threat of death, searches for a source for his food, eventually finding the suburb. Once again, the suburb is used as a symbol for the allure of promises of capitalism. We then go to Vern and the woodland creatures, a peaceful community that has lived off the land and shared their food. However, the construction of the suburb has greatly reduced their food supply, causing Vern to panic. RJ, realizing his opportunity to take advantage of the creatures, introduces them to the various pleasures of commercialism, and although Vern is skeptical, the rest of the animals are quickly seduced by the novelty and comfort of this new world. However, the human Gladys does not want the animals to continue stealing from her trash and hires the exterminator to act as a police force to capture and destroy the woodland creatures. When Vern destroys the previously collected food, RJ makes a last-ditch effort to gather all of Vincent's food by stealing directly from Gladys' home. RJ is able to reach his goal, but at the cost of betraying his new friends to the exterminator. Now, a class traitor, RJ sorrowfully gives Vincent his food. However, he realizes that his comrades mean more to him than his material wealth, and thus steals the wagon once more to rescue the woodland creatures. The resultant struggle between the creatures, the bear, and the humans concludes with all of them being taken into custody, leaving the residents of the hedge free to continue their communal lifestyle in peace. While this may be a very strong argument, I do not think the writers had this in mind when they wrote the script. Ecological message. While the film may not follow Marxist ideas, it can be argued that the movie does have a strong ecological message of the impact of urbanization and suburban sprawl on wildlife habitats by showing how the animals have been displaced by the new housing development next to them. It could be said that the film argues that unchecked development destroys nature and that human-created problems like waste and a disconnected relationship with the environment negatively affecting both humans and animals. Strange beeps in HGN PSP. There's another Over the Hedge video game called Hammy Goes Nuts for the PlayStation Portable that we talked about earlier with our good friend Boris in it. The plot revolves around Hammy and company trying to rewire a satellite they used to watch TV because it is no longer working. In this game, on the PSP, there are strange beeps played throughout the game randomly that doesn't seem to be part of the game. It is likely a sound-related bug or glitch. Similar sound issues were common in the early PSP titles. Adapt to Dying. Adapt to Dying is an over-the-hedge fanfiction where RJ discovers that he is dying and keeps it a secret. The summary reads, when RJ finds out he's dying, he makes a choice his family can't know, who do whatever it takes to protect him, even if it means carrying the secret alone. But hiding something this big doesn't come easy. As RJ's time runs out, unlikely bonds are formed, old foes return, and he struggles to keep the ghosts of his past from destroying everything. But the truth is bound to come out, and when it does, it could shatter his family in ways he never saw coming. Strange coincidences with Open Season and Madagascar. Open Season is a movie that also released in 2006 and Madagascar in 2005 that both feature animals talking that have to outsmart humans in order to survive, leading people to notice these similarities and suggest that these movies are set in the same universe, which is most unlikely with Open Season because Sony Pictures made that movie. But since DreamWorks also made Madagascar, it's possible. Rule 34. Rule 34 is the internet rule that if it exists, there is of it. So you can imagine there is a lot of furry of Over the Hedge characters. If you go to the Rule 34 site, there is 369 results, which is a disgusting amount of for this movie. RJ's past. RJ's past is revealed in the movie that he grew up in a family of raccoons and had a very happy, carefree life until they were killed by an unknown person using a weed whacker when he was young, and leading him to be a lone con man. Though he says this to gain sympathy from the animals and let them join their family, so you could theorize that this was all a lie, although he never explains what really happened to his family, so all we know is that it's canon and his family was murdered by a weed whacker when he was young. Heather's mother. The mother of Heather is absent throughout the movie, but her father Ozzy is present throughout the entire movie, leading to speculation on what happened to Heather's mother. There is a simple theory saying that Ozzy got divorced with Heather's mother and he got custody of her. But that opens a whole can of worms of animal divorce, animal lawyers, animal courts, and something that probably didn't happen. Heather's mother also could have just abandoned them. A darker, more interesting theory suggests that Ozzy and Heather were part of a larger family at one point with more kids and Heather's mother. But an accident occurred, killing Heather's mother and Heather's siblings, leading to Ozzy being the sole protector of Heather, which is why he's so protective of her, though neither of these theories have been confirmed or denied. Run over possum. At one point in the film, Ozzy plays dead to distract the humans from RJ and company stealing food. But all the humans think he's really dead, and he's really good at acting dead, suggesting he's seen a possum in this exact position before, meaning he's watched one of his own kind die right before his eyes before, possibly his mother, as he references her as he plays dead.
Mother, is that you? Beckoning me into the light, must move toward the light.
The sad story of Vern. Little is really known of what actually happened to Vern before the events of the movie, but he is the leader of the animal community and seems to be the oldest and most experienced there, suggesting that maybe he was part of a different community in the forest before this one, but a tragic accident befell them, leaving Vern as the sole survivor, creating his sad and tragic backstory. Heather has more Rule 34 than Stella. Despite being the femme fatale and supposedly best looking animal in the movie, the 16-year-old possum has more of herself, which is wild to think and crazy to believe. Just disgusting. Rocket is RJ's father. There is a simple but far-fetched theory that Rocket Raccoon in the MCU from Guardians of the Galaxy is somehow the father of RJ. The undeniable evidence is that both are raccoons that can talk, both are handy with tools and tinkering, and Rocket's personality is that he doesn't seem to be the type to settle down and have a family, so he did the deed with a female raccoon and then left for space. But hey, it's just a theory. An over-the-hedge theory. And cut. That is the end of the Over the Hedge Iceberg. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know if this was good or not, or if you like it, because it was my first video in a long time. Also, tell me what icebergs you want to see next. Flushed Away? Family Guy? Just spit something out there. Anyways, thank you for watching. Like, subscribe, and go have a beer.